I've got Cori McDougald joining me here on the Seal podcast. We're going to have a great time to learn more about her business and why the Seal really helps her in her business. Hey, Cori, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jim. How are you?
I am living the dream. It is so great to have you here. We were talking before we started that we're from similar parts of North America, not quite, but when I hear your accent and see where you're from, it makes me feel like I'm at home.
Yes, I love it.
I love what you guys do at Meat and Potatoes Organizing. Um, you help homeowners somewhat in a specialized way, in a white glove service way, certainly in some cases, um, helping people organize their stuff, get them maybe from point A to point B and get them set up. And I really want to hear more of your story. So tell me about how it started, who you served, your team members, and how the Seal plugs into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Meat and Potatoes Organizing was started just during COVID, and there was a real demand in people's homes just to help restore peace and decrease their stress. There was a lot of things happening. We're working from home. We have to teach our kids from home. So there's just a lot of moving pieces happening. And so what we did is our goal is to go into the home and declutter, de-stress, and create a more functional environment for people so that they can actually be creative, they could be more efficient, they can flourish. And I started the company originally by myself, but then the demand was so high that I had to hire an assistant and another assistant and then more leads. And so now we've gotten up to 15 um, professional organizers on our team. And and it's just grown tremendously. So we're in the Twin Cities, in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and kind of the surrounding area. But we currently travel all over. And I'll get to that in a second. So originally, when we started, we were just helping families. We are helping busy moms and dads. We're helping professionals just get their life kind of back on track and reduce as much stress so that they can actually feel at peace in their home again. Um, but then uh, our business took a little bit of a turn to the professional athlete realm. So, if you're familiar with any of Minnesota sports, we have Vikings, we have the Wild, we have the Twins, um, and Timberwolves. And what we were finding out is that all these players were being traded all the time. And they needed somebody to pack them up. They needed somebody to unpack them and organize them. And so I love human performance. I love sports. So I think our team was just a natural fit to go into these homes and really help them to pack, unpack, organize their stuff, get it set up, make sure it's really pretty, functioning beautifully. And that's kind of where the Seal came in. So it was about a year ago, about a year to a year and a half ago, when I talked to Ed, because as we're bringing in team members into these high profile homes, um, we really, really, really needed that background check, because the people that, manage these households, they are checking backgrounds. Not just anybody is going to get let into this house. And not only that, but you're also dealing with their most vulnerable items, possessions that are in their house, which, you need trusted professionals. And I will say, in the world of professional organizing, it's kind of like the wild, wild west.
Mm.
Specifically in the state of Minnesota, the only thing you need to call yourself a professional organizer is an LLC for your business and business liability insurance. Outside of that, you don't need anything. You don't need to prove anything. There's no license. So you can just be anyone and qualify for that and start doing professional organizing. And that really, that upset me because I want there to be some type of, certification or licensure or even like background checks, right? So that's why we went with Ed and the Seal, because I want to send that background check to every single person who's either managing the home, in charge of the home. And some of the clients have NDA agreements, some of them don't, but you still want to make sure that anybody coming into that home is for sure safe, no criminal history.
Mm.
And I think that's one thing that sets our team apart uh, from the rest of the professional organizers, to be quite honest with you, even just in the country, because it is kind of the wild, wild west. I know for sure in Minnesota, we are the only team of professional organizers that is background checked. So
Yeah.
there's that too.
That definitely puts your clients' minds to rest. And I would imagine yours a little bit, Cori, as well, because you've done the job you need to do when you hire them. But when Ed's company, the SEAL, then does their process, it's kind of a second check of what you've done, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it goes pretty far back on the record too. So like, I mean, even I think 7-ish years or something like that. Don't quote me on the specifics, but it's good to know what is the background of this person because they might be an amazing organizer or they might be an amazing person, but until you really do that background check, you really don't know. And so every time we book a project, we send out the our email and it has our background checked, our seal stuff attached to it, which is nice. People can click on that. They can look specifically at who's coming to their house. It has the photo. So it's like, oh, this person's going to be showing up on Tuesday. And I know they're here to professionally organize my home and I know that they're safe. So
Yeah.
for us, when we started working with the white glove, is really when we kind of started upping our game in regards to like validity of professional organizing.
Yeah. People want that seal, the approval, the mark of, hey, we're a serious company. We've been checked out. Our people have all been screened, if you will. The badge is a big thing. The ID badge, always important. Whenever I'm anywhere, at a concert, at the airport, even at the mall, I want to make sure the janitor has their badge. I don't know why, right? It's just one of those things. It 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 shows they're professional, but also they're legit. And that's really important.
Yeah. And I'll give you one example of that. So a lot of times there's a lot of trust that goes into these projects. Sometimes the homeowner is not there
Mm.
and you're supposed to go to this project and you're going to unpack and organize this beautiful wardrobe and beautiful closet, but nobody is there. So, but maybe there's somebody who's managing the household that, or, a nanny or whatever. They don't know who you are. But if you walk in or use the garage code or whatever they've given you and you have your badge, nobody's going to question what you're doing there. But if you just walk into this home, unannounced or, and they might not know who you are. And so it really just helps, especially when we have to do some of these things independently of the actual client, um, to make sure that we have our badges. And even the organizers are like, yeah, I feel so much more comfortable just like if I'm punching in a garage code, if I have my badge on, as opposed to just punching in somebody's garage code and, you know,
Yeah. Well,
walking.
you appear to be legitimate. You know you are, but the question is do other people know you're legitimate? I saw a post on Facebook today actually that there are studies that say that technicians in the HVAC industry, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning industry, technicians that sell, the ones that have a beard actually make less money for whatever reason. Okay. It's all about the impression on who's looking at you. You might say, I'm a great technician, a great salesperson. Why does it matter? I have a beard, a neck tattoo, and piercings in my face. You may think it's okay, but the customer, the prospect may not. And when it comes to uniforms, I think a uniform is not complete until it has that badge.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think we can't just let anybody into our house these days, unfortunately.
No, I mean, the more legit you look, the better. And it's not just the look, it is backed up by what Ed does and his team at the SEAL. So do you have competition?
We do. So, to be honest with you, there are about 60 to 70 other professional organizers in the Twin Cities, believe it or not.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is. The market has gotten very saturated. I think because there is a demand for organizing services, people are more exhausted than ever and have zero time to deal with stuff at home. The other thing is that, people are buying and selling, well, a little bit, you know, not as much as during COVID,
Yeah.
but at this point in the game, if you are going to sell your home, yes, you do have to declutter. You have to get rid of things, or you need to box them up and get them out, because you do need to stage. You do need your house to be clean and sparkling and, you know, clutter free. That, like, we've noticed too, at least up here, all the homes that are selling are clean and sparkling and decluttered, and they're selling at any price point as long as, like, you're hitting that criteria. And I think people are realizing that now, like, yeah, I need to. And not only does it feel good to do that decluttering when you're going to move, but just if you're going to stay in your home and you want to feel good about where you live, it's such an awesome service. And um yeah, and I think just the need for it is why there is so much competition. I do think when people get into organizing, it's low barrier to entry. Like I said, it's kind of the wild, wild west. Anybody can do it. And it's not rocket science, but there are like methods and theories that you want to apply to each house and customize it based on that family and what they're looking for. Um, but I think, there's always people coming in and also going out, because it's hard too to run the business, to make sure, everything is done a certain way. So yeah, I would say that as far as a team goes, um, we kind of have the largest team in Minnesota, and probably actually in the entire Midwest. But there's tons of just solo organizers all over.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's how you started. And it makes
yep.
sense because people really like to buy from people, and they buy from people they know, like, and trust. People who don't like to buy from entities, they really don't. Now they'll buy from Apple or GM or
Yeah.
Lexus or something. Fine. But people really like to buy from people. And when you're going into the home and you're touching their personal items, organizing them, helping them move them to another place, they really want to buy from people. I would imagine as you scale your business, the more team members you have, the more important it will be to keep it as personal as possible. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, a lot of people don't even want you to come into their house. It's like their most vulnerable.
Mhm.
It's one of people's most vulnerable things about their life is like their home, right? And so you're coming in, and they're allowing us to come in and give them advice and get them to a place that feels better. And, some people just absolutely love the service because they do not, like, how do I explain this? I was born with, like, I don't know, maybe OCD, or I just love to organize, right? And that's just kind of how I've been my whole life. I like to get stuff done. I like to take action. And for the majority of people that we work with, probably 80%, like, that paralyzes them. They're just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I look at this space, it freaks me out, it gives me anxiety, and then I close the door and I run away. And so most of the time, that's I mean, what people call, they're like, this is not my jam, but I appreciate an organized space, but I'm not going to be able to do that. And this is not a good use of my time. Like, if I work, 80 hours this week on the weekend, the last thing I want to do is like organize my garage. But if you guys can come in and a team can do it in 6 hours, well, that's fabulous. And now it's done. So, we bring that benefit to people where it's like, you know, thinking about time is money, and just having everything set and that feeling of like comfort.
Yeah, meat and potatoes organizing would be well paired with a personal chef. Same type of thing. I've got a great kitchen, kind of messy sometimes, so I'll bring meat and potatoes in to organize it. And then I'll have someone cook for me the meat and potatoes in my kitchen, right? Because a lot of people don't like to cook.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
have these $150,000 marble kitchens today. They're
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yes.
They're gorgeous. And they're like, what takeout do you want? What? I mean, and
Yeah.
it's because it's overwhelming. They don't have time. And I really think about your business much like the personal chef, right? The cook
Right.
coming in and preparing either there or bringing in prepared food. So the homeowner just has to basically plug and play.
Well, sometimes in that case, like the kitchen's just, they haven't set it up in a way that
Mm.
makes sense. Like we ask the questions like, how do you plate your food? How do you do your dishes? How do you put your dishes away? How do you cook? Do you bake? All of these things make a lot of difference. Like if you have to go run around to the pantry to grab your spices, you're
Mhm.
not going to cook with spices. But if we have some really cool turntable or spice rack right next to your stove and you can pull it open, you can see all your spices, you're going to use them. So, designing, so yeah, these beautiful kitchens, that is true. But just from our experience, like being able to optimize kitchens can also just improve like your desire to want to cook and do things because it actually makes sense or it allows for creativity. You can see what you need. The things you don't need are not in the way. That's a big one. But also, yes, we do have a lot of chefs. And so we ask them, like, how do you want this kitchen set up? Because it does matter for them. They're going through the motions. So
Well, sure. It's like a workshop. Now, I have a little shop in my garage. Corey, I would never show it to you because you'd go crazy. You'd be like, Jim, you really need our services. I'm working on it though. But so I'm kind of handy. I like to, tool around a bit. Which is very similar to someone who has a craft room or the kitchen. I've
yep.
got my shop, and I'm sure you do craft rooms and shops too.
Yes, we do. Lots of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little pieces in crafts room. My wife has a craft room,
Yeah.
and honestly, we keep the door shut a lot because
Yeah. Yeah. It's one
there's
of and
yeah,
there's no shame in that. But
Uh,
honestly, like with the craft rooms, like you have lots of little pieces and you have a lot of supplies and back stock. And the kicker is that when you can't see the items, then you go buy more. And then it just sits on top of
yeah,
the other items. So like it's this, and this is the same in anyone's house, not just a craft room, but like this is kind of what happens, right? I can't find the batteries, or I can't find that material, or I can't find the buttons. So then I'm going to go out, I'm going to get some new buttons or whatever I need so I can make the project that I'm making. Well, then the other buttons are somewhere lost underneath and then it just compounds, right? So then you're buying more. And so really when we think about that, we have to get down to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is being able to see or find your back stock. So in your shop, like if you're looking, I think you probably saw like there's a meme going around and it was like, I need this little piece that's like an angle like this. And the guy's
yep,
like, oh, I've been saving
yeah,
that for
yeah,
10
yeah,
years. My
exactly. And he
garage
goes out
like
and he
runs
finds,
out
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there
yeah. He digs
and he
through it. Yeah,
finds
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But if you didn't know where that was, then you'd either make a new one or figure it out, right? So our whole goal is like working with, your crafts or your to-dos or that and like getting you set up for success. And also it depends on the brain of the person. So when you think about somebody might have ADHD, maybe they've started 15 projects and not completed one of them and it's been 2 years. So, we might have to have a separate table for projects in motion. They might have to visually see every piece of backstock. We might be using a lot of clear bins, labels, different ways of stacking so that, the brain can see it, but the brain doesn't feel cluttered by it because that's the other thing. Like with ADHD, if they feel cluttered, then they can't create and everything shuts down and project is over, moving on. So what we want to do is create an atmosphere where you can not only access your things, but it doesn't feel cluttered
Mm,
to like, you know, stump creativity. So, and then we have some people who are like, everything has to be behind a closed door. I don't want to see anything. And that works great for some people. If they have a great memory, if they have great working memory, those are beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing. But most of our clients lie somewhere along the spectrum of like between ADHD and needing things behind closed doors. So it just
yeah,
really depends on the situation and the person.
yeah. Hey, this has been an awesome conversation. We should do it again. We could cover so many more things. I do want to, in the show notes, put your contact information so people can reach you, Cori. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.